I have here the new Patrick Ta Duo highlighters, all the colors he came out with. There's 5 of them. I'm going to do swatches. I have some history with these. I've tried them on, recorded a video, but the light was a little too bright, so I felt like you couldn't really tell the difference between them. I was on vacation and it was a hotel room, so I'm going to re-record it to make sure that you guys can hopefully tell the difference between the colors, and that's what we're doing today. I hope you guys will enjoy it. Make sure you subscribe if you are new here, and let's get started. These new highlighters have the same packaging as the blushes. This is the blush and then the highlighters, which is not great for me because I could already confuse everything. I even confuse the bronzer contour that they have, and that's like in the larger packaging, but the packaging is the same. The whole idea is the same. You get a cream and then a really soft powder. The application that he suggests is the same. You put the powder first and then the cream. And like I mentioned, I do have some experience with these. I have recorded already a video. I've worn them a few days now. Let's take a look at the colors. You first have the My Love, which is all white pretty much. And I will do some swatches, live swatches, but you will notice that they are quite sheer, so you won't be able to tell that much. I'm gonna put them up here. This one is probably the most intense out of all of them, and that has the most pigment. Then we have the color Baby, that I think this is going to be the most popular one. A lot of people love these like kind of baby pink colors. And let's swatch it right under here. As you can see, it's not as colorful as you may expect. I actually was surprised how sheer the pink was. It kind of barely showed up as a pink. The white one, I was expecting this to be quite intense just because that diamond almost white pigment. But let's move on to the color Sugar, and we will swatch this under. Sugar will go right here. This one has more of a champagne tone to it. As you can see, the pink is soft. The champagne one has a little bit more pigment. And again, it's a soft champagne-y golden color. It's not too much. I was kind of scared that this is going to pull quite gold on me, but it doesn't. Next one is Daddy, and this is more of a rose gold color. I'm going to swatch it right here. You can definitely tell the cream is more pigmented than the other ones. This is a beautiful shade. This was one of the ones that I personally was the most excited about when I saw that. It's kind of rosy goldy. It almost has a shift in it as well. I don't know how much you're going to be able to tell on camera, but in the sun and the natural light, I was able to definitely tell that it has that shift in it that has some rosiness. And then Honey is the deepest one, and this is the one that I actually went back to purchase because I initially thought, oh, that's just going to be too deep for me. I'm not going to be able to pull it off, but you will see that it's actually beautiful. So those are all the swatches. Hopefully you will be able to tell a difference between these. They're quite sheer and like translucent. I think if I hold it out here, you can kind of tell a little bit better because it's further away from the light, the difference between the colors. The only thing with the creams, they look quite similar until you get to this kind of rose gold shade. And the Honey, those definitely have a lot more kind of pigment in it. And I will insert some clips of some of the swatches I did in Sephora and then in a natural light in the sunlight, just so you can hopefully see as much difference as you can with these colors, because Patrick Ta did mention that these are quite sheer and it's meant for everybody to be able to wear them no matter the skin tone. So if you're very fair, you should be able to use Honey, and if you're really deep, you could use the shade Love, is that the name? My Love on the skin, and it being wearable. So let's try them on. My makeup has been on all day. I just put a little bit of powder, and I have to just give a quick mention of this RMS Beauty powder. this is so blurring, so intense, but so smooth. I've only tried it today, okay? So I'm gonna give you final thoughts later, but I was so impressed this morning with that powder. Okay, so let's start with my love. And I have learned that these are very powdery in a way, yet you don't get a lot of mess. It's just like you have to tap them. And because this color is so light and bright, I like to just whoop, whoop, take a little bit of that off so it won't be too stark. So let's put it here. I am using a fluffy brush. This is from Morphe A22. And I really like this one because it's so airy. And I feel like it does a really good job applying highlighter softer. Okay, so that is the shade My Love, just the powder. As you can tell, it's quite bright in a way, but it's still wearable. If I look straight, you really can't see the highlight at all until I turn. The formula is very soft, and I actually like the way it blends into the skin. It's not chunky glitters. Right now in person, I don't see it, but in natural light, I was able to see just the softest bit of kind of glitter in it. I don't even want to call it glitter. It's just more of a shimmer through it that's a very refined. I usually don't like any glitter in my highlighters, but this one I can put up with it because it's soft. It's nothing like the Fenty balm thing. No, that one is very intense and glittery. This is actually very, very soft, and it blends into the skin. The only thing with this one is that it's very bright, so you kind of have to keep that in mind when applying, but it is so soft, so beautiful on the skin. I really like it. I was actually surprised how well this went on because I was expecting this to be very glittery and chunky just based on swatches, but once you blend it in, I actually think it's so beautiful. In my perfect world, I would have taken a little bit more off and then went on my cheek, but for the sake of the video, I'm going to show you kind of a product build up, and you can absolutely build this up. Now, for the cream, I am going to use a beauty blender. I've used this kind of today, and I'm just going to add right on top of it. And this just makes everything look like wet and glossy. I prefer this method, like putting the cream on top, but you don't have to do that. I am a huge lover of balms like this, even the Tom Ford Duo Balm. It's kind of similar to at least this shade right here, where it has no pigment to it. It's just like a clear balm that goes over it. And I think that makes the powder melt into the skin even more. And it just gives this beautiful glossiness to the skin. It's gorgeous. I am also surprised that from the few times that I've worn these, they have not lifted my foundation. The only time that happened is when I was recording the other video and I was trying to kind of switch real quick my concealer and kind of wipe the highlighter off, put concealer, and I didn't let the concealer dry, and I felt like it was moving a little bit my concealer. But since then, I've kind of learned to make sure that my base is at least set. I even can put powder, and I haven't had an issue with lifting. Now, I'm not going to go in there and rub the cream on my cheek. It's going to lift. Any cream that you put on top of like a foundation and you rub it, it's going to lift. But if you're careful, like I use a beauty blender, you could even use your finger, it shouldn't lift. Okay, moving on to the shade Baby, and I'm gonna probably just clean my brush in between and just use the same one. I think it's such a good brush. I also have a nice burn right there. Ignore it. It was with my curling iron. Okay, so the same thing, it picks up quite a bit, and I bought mine in store. I think I've seen some reels or some people talking about them breaking. None of mine broke, but I did have issue with one of the shades, and I'll mention it in a little bit, but I had no issues with the powders. Let's put the color Baby here. This one is softer, as you can see, than My Love. It's a little bit more pink and it's not quite in your face, which I really like. Oh, how pretty it is. Okay, so that is the shade Baby. I was like, what is the name of it? It's a beautiful soft pink. I'm going to build it up just a little bit more so you can see that you can build it up or you can make it softer. It really is such a beautiful shade. I really like it. It is better than I expected. Now with all of these, you want to blend in the powder because it's so soft. The powder almost wants to kind of go everywhere. So I like to make sure that I rub it softly into the skin with a fluffy brush because it makes it look a little bit more one with the skin. That is beautiful. Okay, now let's take the cream, and I'm doing the same thing using a beauty blender, and let's go right here on top. And this definitely bumps up the shine quite a bit. It is so beautiful. Okay, I feel like with this camera, you can tell much more than with my vlogging camera that I recorded before. With that one, I felt like on the screen, all the colors look the same. So I'm glad I am re-recording this. I think it's more helpful. So here we have the shade Baby with the cream and the highlighter. It's beautiful, it's soft, it's not too much. It doesn't give me a shadow or a streak of white or pink. I think it's beautiful. I actually really like the formula of the highlighter. I think it is so soft, the powder, and with the cream on top of it, it just meshes so well. So I am loving this. Okay, let's move on to Sugar. Cleaned up the cheeks a little bit and applied a little bit of concealer over it and let it kind of dry down. Now, the color Sugar is supposed to be this beautiful kind of champagne-y shade, and I will actually insert a clip of my other video where I had an issue with a product being completely melted in the cream formula. Look at that. It is completely destroyed. The middle is pretty much melted. So I may have to go swap this one because this is kind of too messy. I don't think I would be able to work with it unless I put it in the fridge and let that kind of melt back in. So as you can tell, the product had quite a big defect to it, and even the swatch at that local Sephora had the same issue. I had gone to a different mall and kind of did some swatches there of this shade, and it did not have that issue, so I felt comfortable kind of swapping the color. And as you can see here, I do not have any of that issue, the cream being melted, and it was just awful. It went everywhere. So I think maybe there's a couple batches that have that issue. I don't know if it has to do with the heat, but it doesn't really make sense because all the other colors were stored in the same area. So this one, the new one, has absolutely no issue. I've tried to kind of press and it's just like the other one. So that's something that I need to mention and you should know. Okay, let's try this one. I'm gonna take just a little bit off and we are gonna put the color Sugar here. This, I was a little bit scared just because I don't love a gold highlighter, but this is absolutely stunning. Look at that. It is not too gold. It's a beautiful champagne shade. It is not streaky at all. It's just absolutely stunning. It is transparent enough, but it still gives you that beautiful champagne-y shade. Oh, what a beautiful shade right here. I think that I like this one better than the color Baby. For me, in my skin tone, it is pretty much perfection. It's not too much. I can build it up if I want to. I can sheer it out more than this. Just the powder is so finely milled and so soft on the cheek that I was so impressed. Even in that video, I was just like, whoa, I did not expect these to be so soft and not have that glitter. Again, except the white one has a little bit of that, and you'll see that the honey has a little bit, but the other ones I didn't see any actual glitter. It's just this beautiful smooth highlighter. Let's take the beauty blender, and I'm going in there and rubbing, and nothing is coming off. You will know if yours is bad, because the second I just kind of barely touched my other one, it was just everywhere. So let's put this here. Oh, so pretty. It just makes everything more intense, and yeah, it's so beautiful. I just love this Patrick Ta formula in general. I always liked his blushes, and the cream on top just makes everything more juicy and glossy. And this one, compared to the other ones, you can definitely tell it has that champagne shade in the cream as well. That is the shade Sugar with both of them on. I've even worn this kind of on my eyes, and it looked beautiful as well. Let's move on to the shade Daddy. Now this one I loved when I saw in Swatches, because I love a peachy, oh, so pretty, a peachy kind of highlighter that's not too light. Okay, so this one has just a little bit of rosy shift in it. Maybe a little bit of that iridescent where it kind of shifts. It's not too much, because I usually don't like those kind of highlighters that shift from purple to blue to gold. But this is so soft, and it has the tiniest bit of that kind of rosiness in it. That makes the combination between that gold and rose look almost peachy. It's really beautiful. It really is special. I think if you like a little bit of a color to your highlighter, but not too much, it's nothing intense, I think you're really gonna appreciate this one. Let's add just a little bit of the cream right here and see how that looks. All of these, you can really make them look more intense, build them up, or softer. That is really beautiful. See, once I put the cream on top, it doesn't show that much, the shift between rosy and gold. It just melts it all in. I prefer it like this. It still has just a little bit of that rose gold in it. It's really beautiful. So here is the rose gold shade. Even though it's like the fourth deepest one, it's still very wearable for me. And then the color Sugar, the more champagne-y one. Which one do you guys like best? I mean, now that I put the cream on, I really like this one as well. Yeah, they're both beautiful. Now the color Honey right here, it is such a beautiful shade, definitely more bronzy. And I'm gonna see if I can do a close-up. Can you see that in the pan? You can kind of see a little bit of that gold shimmer through it. It is nothing chunky or intense, but just like the light one, this has just a little bit of that in it. So if you're completely against any sparkle or shimmer in your highlighter, maybe this isn't for you. But I promise you, it blends in so softly, and it just kind of meshes into the skin. And I think that gold kind of sheen that you see through it, it just gives it a more unique tone to it. And the second you put that cream on top, it just kind of melts together. And again, I think that this is perfect, obviously, for deeper skin tone, but I wanted to try it on for you guys, just if you're curious. I was definitely not going to pick this up. And after swatching all of them, I decided to just pick the four of them, the four lightest ones. And then as I was walking out, I just kind of put the color Honey on top of my cheeks. And I was like, oh, wait, that's actually wearable. I can wear that. And I bet that you guys would be interested. So I went back and purchased it. Let's take a little bit of this and gently put this on. Okay. So as you can see, it is not intensely pigmented at all. I'm going to blend it in a little bit more so that kind of gold honey color will just kind of melt in. But look at that. Oh, I think it is perfect for summer. It is that perfect highlighter kind of glow. I could put this all over my body. I just feel like I would be glowing from the heavens. But I was so surprised by this color. It is stunning. I love the tone of the gold. It's not too yellow. It's more of that almost cool tone gold. And the fact that it works on my skin tone just proves how transparent all of these colors are, and how the lighter ones would work on deeper skin tones as well. And this one can work on lighter skin tones. Now, of course, if you want more contrast, the lighter ones will show up more. If you want less contrast, go for the deeper ones. But I just fell in love with this color. The second I put it on, I was like, oh wow, wait, that actually is going to be a beautiful, beautiful summer, like beach shade. It's actually really raining outside, but it's very hot. So hopefully the tornadoes won't start showing up. The thing that I find it very interesting and why I really enjoy this formula so much is that looking straight ahead, I do not see any shadows on my cheeks. I don't see a stripe of gold. Until I turn, you really don't see the highlighter, which is what I want from a highlighter. I don't want to see this stripe on my cheeks when I look ahead. And the fact that with such a deep shade, that it's deeper than my skin tone, you can work with that. That speaks a lot about kind of like the formula that these have. And I love this. I actually did a story on Instagram about these, and I was wearing honey, and I had so many questions like, are you sure that's honey? That looks beautiful and it works on you. And so yeah, this is the shade Honey with just the powder. And now I'm gonna take the beauty blender and get a little bit of the cream and just tap it. Again, I don't swipe. I don't want to disturb what's underneath. I am wearing a combination, my Hourglass foundation and a little bit of the Lisa Eldridge skin tint. I didn't want quite as much full coverage as the Hourglass foundation, so I added a little bit of the Lisa Eldridge. So this is not a foundation or a base that it's very light. This has some coverage to it, and the fact that it hasn't lifted any of it and concealer on top of it just speaks volumes. So here we have Honey with the cream on top, and then just with the powder. You can see that with the cream, it just like makes it so much brighter. I obviously love it with the cream. Let's just even this out a little bit here. Just gonna put it all over. I want to take a little bit of the Daddy cream and put it here on my lips. Why not? That's pretty. I have been wearing this lipstick almost non-stop. It is the Westman Atelier in the shade Lacquer, and it's this brighter kind of peachy nude. I love this so much, but I have to pair it with a lip liner. There's a couple lip liners that I've been wearing with it. The Freck Lip Liner in shade 3 I've worn the most with this one, and I've just been loving the combo. Those are all the highlighters from Patrick Ta. My thoughts on it. Personally, I love the Patrick Ta formula. If you like the blush formula, you're gonna like this too. The highlighters are not super intense, but they are very much buildable. Mostly if you get that light shade, the My Love shade, that can get quite blinding. I personally purchased it mainly for the video. If I were to just choose two, I probably would go for definitely Sugar. That was my favorite. And I was going to say Baby, but I love the gold shade. I actually adore this shade. So I want to say that those two, and Baby as well, I really enjoy the color Baby. Honestly, they're all beautiful. Now, the one thing that I really want to emphasize is how sheer they are and kind of transparent. So I don't think you need multiple colors of these. Just go for the one that you gravitate towards. If you gravitate towards more champagne-y golden, go for the Sugar. Or if you like a pink one, the Baby is a great one. Or if you're into like summer kind of highlighty like I am right now, that is beautiful as well. So I just just don't think anybody needs multiple of these because it gives the same effect on the skin. Overall, do not expect these to be so different. So if you purchased multiple shades, you may be disappointed that they won't show up that different. For example, the shade Honey and Sugar, I feel like they're very similar on the cheek. Obviously, I can build up the shade Honey and make it more intense, but these are just very malleable products. So that's the one thing that I really want to emphasize. Also, I've had issues with the shade Sugar, like I mentioned before, but the formula, I love it. I love it so much. I love the way this looks on the skin in natural light. We were driving quite a lot, so I got to kind of look at the mirror of truths in the car, and it just looked so beautiful. It didn't look patchy, it didn't look intense. I have worn the creams by themselves as well, and that worked well for me. If you're familiar with the Patrick Ta blush formula and you love that, I think you're gonna love these as well. I think the powder in the highlighters is softer and more finely milled than the powder in the blushes. In my opinion, these are much just softer and sheer, as you can see there. So I really enjoyed that. We don't have the pigment that we have in blushes, which is not something we want in a highlighter. At least I don't want that. Those are all the Patrick Ta new highlighters. I really want to know your thoughts on these. I was ecstatic when I saw them. And when I saw them in store next to me, I was like, yes, I don't have to wait like 2 weeks for Sephora to ship them. If you've seen my last video, you know I've been frustrated a little bit with Sephora and their shipping. It's been taking them forever to ship the products, like almost 2 weeks. So I'm glad that I found these in store, but I will have everything linked down below, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.